Missouri? What's the economy like?
The economy is doing well here. We're about 35 miles west of St. Louis. It's a very conservative county, St. Charles County, on the other side of the river, and I'm a minority in this area for lots of reasons, not just for being Hispanic, but also for being a Democrat.
That's Renee in Wentzville, and Pete is up next in Columbus, Ohio, on our Trump-Pence line. Hi, Pete.
Hi. I am so sick of the Democratic Party and their lies. It seems like it's the only thing they know how to do is lie. I don't know how many times Trump has been asked the question if he was a racist or not, and I don't know how many times he had to respond telling these people that he is not and has never supported anything that was racist. How many times does he have to do that? It's ridiculous. And I'm sick of the media and the Democratic Party keep bringing that up because he's...
Well, how do you think your candidate, Mike Pence, did tonight? He performs with class and dignity, and something that Harris does not have. She has no respect for the vice president, and she comes off brash and arrogant and just plain nasty. That's Pete in Columbus, Ohio. Let's check back in with Greta Broner.
Jennifer Epstein, who reports for Bloomberg, notes this, that after the debate, Douglas Emhoff, the husband of Senator Harris, walked onto the stage with a mask while Karen Pence, the second lady, did not. And on the ticket that those who attended tonight's debate in the audience, Matt Visor from the Washington Post notes that the ticket holder, on their ticket, it says this, that the ticket holder relieves the Commission on Presidential Debates and the event site host of any and all liability of any kind or character, including in the event of injury or sickness, including COVID-19. And masks were mandatory at tonight's vice presidential debate. The president tweeted out his reaction to the debate. Mike Pence is doing great, he said at 9:55 p.m. She is a gaffe machine. And right as the debate started, Joe Biden tweeted out, Kamala Harris is showing the American people why I chose her as my running mate. She's smart, she's experienced, she's a proven fighter for the middle class. She'll be an incredible vice president. And then the GOP from the Republican National Convention tweeting out 20 minutes into the debate, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have a history of casting doubt on the coronavirus vaccine. Here's the reality that Dr. Fauci testified, quote, there's no cutting corners from the Trump administration on vaccine development. Also, the GOP tweeting out, as chair of the coronavirus task force, VP Pence helped oversee the greatest mobilization of American industry since World War II, 267 million face coverings, 21 billion gloves, 855 surgical masks, and 100 million N95 respirators. That from the GOP tonight. And then also we noted that the vice president had guests tonight. He referenced them during the debate. You probably Trell of West Valley City, Utah.
Ted's in Baltimore. Ted, how did your candidate Kamala Harris do tonight?
Well, you know, I think the first thing that I would say is that if these guys, if the two that were debating tonight were the candidates, the ones that debated last week would not even be on the stage. I think both sides gave great answers. They did dodge a lot, which was disappointing, but in the end, they both were very respectful to each other.
And why are you supportive of the Biden-Harris ticket?
I feel like the Trump ticket the last 4 years, everything hateful in the country that had been hidden has kind of come out. Like the Proud Boys are now out and about, and used to be hidden under the hoods of the KKK. So it's just a very scary place to be in right now.
Thanks for calling in. Irene in Utica, Michigan, undecided.
First of all, Irene, are you leaning either way?
Yeah, so I guess from this evening, I am undecided, but if I had to pick a candidate, I just would like to say it would be nice to see more of the debates handling policy discussions than just, it seems like, media. And based on the conversation that took place between both candidates, I think as voters, we are educated enough where we can fact check. And so there were a lot of things I think that were said on both sides, and I would probably say on Harris' side that we could find to be false and not true fact. So with that, for me, I would like to see more policies being discussed as to what they plan to do in their termship, rather than, you know, moderators pose questions that are just basing it on the current media events.
Thank you, ma'am, for calling in. Leslie, Franklin, PA, on our Trump-Pence line. Hi, Leslie.
Hi, how are you this evening?
How are you?
Very, I would have to say, feeling challenged over this coming election, and definitely disappointed in this debate. Not so much in the candidates themselves, but I was disappointed. You know, I was timing and I was watching, and there were numerous times where Kamala Harris did get extended or additional times to speak.
All right.
And I really feel that things should be just even across the board, and I felt that they could have had more debate amongst themselves, and I felt like the questions were really being driven against Trump and more towards Biden, like, you know, asking Pence whether, you know, he was going to leave the White House if he lost the election. And the same thing was not asked of her, you know, is Biden going to accept the results?
That's Leslie in Franklin, PA, and Bernice is in Cary, North Carolina. Bernice, how did your candidate Kamala Harris do tonight?
I think she did very good. I've listened to a lot of people's responses, and I think it was pretty obvious that Pence avoided answering most of the questions, and I think it's unfair to put someone on the spot and accuse them of not answering a question that he asked, not the moderator, whenever he was asked about abortion and almost all of his questions, and instead of answering the questions, he went off on tangents.
Hello. Guy Meyer. I might say Sleepy Guy Meyer, but that's wide awake. Well, I wish. It's one of those days. Every day is one of those days. Spilling the coffee, waking up so hard, cursing the tired brain as you fumble your way to another day. What day is it? October 8th, Thursday, 2020. Wow. Wow. The forces of existence are just amazing. Fabulous. Fabulous. Once upon a time, I said, anytime. Anytime. Once upon a time, I said anytime. And I think I was trying to say anytime. Anytime this planet is willing to wake up. Anytime we are. All right, I'm going to bring a quote from a book I referenced earlier in the year. I think it might be on one of my videos online. I was trying to do, actually have a literature day. Very interesting book. I'm not going to say too much more. It's a bestseller. A lot of people have heard about it. So the young woman who is entered college after being homeschooled and is trying to catch up with the rest of the world. And she might already be ahead of the rest of the world, even in her early college days. So she's learning about negative liberty and positive liberty. Now, those are just two ways of describing liberty. Referring to a philosopher named Isaiah Berlin, who I'd never heard of. Negative liberty is the freedom from external obstacles or constraints. I would say that's a positive thing, but they're describing it as negative. An individual is free in this sense if they are not physically prevented from taking action. It's the measure of liberty versus constraint, right? It's this freedom that society or maybe your parents put on you, that you have to do some, but they're contrasting this form of liberty that is, or the opposite of liberty is the confines of which you're supposed to live in, all right? Negative liberty, the external, telling us you can't go over 60 miles an hour or you shouldn't walk naked, but maybe that's a different one. Positive liberty is freedom from internal constraints. The lecturer tried to clarify. He said, positive liberty is self-mastery, the rule of the self by the self. To have positive liberty, he explained, is to take control of one's own mind, to be liberated from irrational fears and beliefs, from addictions, superstitions, and all other forms of self-coercion. I had no idea what it meant to self-coerce. Does anybody else ever self-coerce? No. I looked around the room. No one else seemed confused. I was one of the few students taking notes. I wanted to ask for further explanation, but something stopped me. The certainty that to do so would be to shout to the room that I didn't belong there. I thought of positive liberty and of what it meant, what it might mean to self-coerce until my head thrummed with a dull ache. Okay, so there's the concept. So we're in the midst of this giant battle that we've set up in this great civilization, the USA, right? And I'm not saying that this another better thing, this adversarial system, Democrats, Republicans, as they deal with it, and it implies this fear of what might happen either way, and you try to weigh the good of what you might see on one side versus the darkness, what you might see in that same side, or the darkness in the one side and the good, because if you're a smart person, I don't know how you cannot see that each side has a goodly share of each of that. But what I am continually dealing with is that, I guess, that positive liberty thing that's called that. Why do we succumb to always feeling like this external stuff is what's defining us, when really the most important thing is how we limit ourselves, and how can we tear that stuff off and be more powerful people to what, Guy? Well, maybe just to believe in ourselves, or to believe that we don't have to be the victims of either president, if the Biden, Harris, or no matter what happens, we're not going to be the victims of either one of those potential mistakes or potential goodness. I come, as I mentioned before, I'm getting kind of old, and gray hair and all that. How'd that happen? So once upon a time when I was young, and I've gone through this 100 times before on my blog and maybe other interviews. I mean, I learned back in the 70s, when Johnny Cash sings songs from 1972 about God, his Don't Go Near the Water tune, I'm loving it. This is 1972 or 3 or 4. Maybe this was a forbidden lyric. We're torturing the earth and pouring every kind of evil in the sea. We violated nature, and our children have to pay the penalty. Don't go near the water, children. So there was a time, it seems like, there was a time when the Cuyahoga River was burning in Cleveland, the river through the city, and the smog was so disgusting in Los Angeles and many other parts of the country. This is when we only had 200 million people in the USA. Oh, I can see I'm running out of battery. Damn it, how did that happen? What I'm getting at is human population. And we're just part of this process that needs to be acknowledged, and know that we're going to have to work our way through it to get to something called sustainability and the possibility of really having a healthy system. And if you don't deal with the deepest issues or the roots of sustainability, you're just kidding yourselves, which I think is where most of my progressive Democrat friends are. Because unless you deal with overpopulation, there's too many people using too much happy appetites at work. It's an issue. It's a major issue. And then Huxley would say it also is the negative liberty thing, where the more people you have, the more you have to be concerned about security, the more laws you have, more restrictions you have, because that's the way it is. So when President Trump brings legal immigration down by 500,000, like Barbara Jordan suggested back in the 90s, I gotta say, all right, that's 500,000 less Americans with the highest carbon footprint in the world, right? Not like a nice little ecological low footprint like you might have in India or Guatemala or Mexico. But we don't want that. We want those people to live better. But what is the way of living better and keeping a really low footprint? That's shouldn't be that hard, right? It's not that hard. It's not that hard at all. We gotta make it happen. We've got to make it happen. So one of every little thing we do, every little positive thing helps, and every little thing that you put on your own shoulder in terms of that positive liberty, that is what your own self tells you can't do or should do, or tells you that you have to be whatever, that interferes with your own freedom. It's really important about ecology, that our own sense of that we can't do this, that we have to climb in a car once we're 17 or 18 years old and join because everybody's been doing it, and you've never thought about it, and that doesn't mean you're not an environmentalist, because you'll drive a Prius. But where is the rebellion? Where could the rebellion start? And where, between the click of a light and the start of a dream, as the song goes. Where does it start? How do you do it? Where's that click of the light that positive liberty comes sweeping into Americans, the world, the planet, and it's like, oh, I have liberty. Oh, oh, oh my, my, oh my. Anyways, what else can I think? I'm trying to think positive. Only love can make us whole, says my friend Beverly in her famous poem. We've got oh God, so many issues. What's going on, world? Fracking. Did you know that there are dozens of idled open-pit sand mines that dot the farmland near Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, and Illinois along the Mississippi River? The collapse in oil prices this year has squeezed energy-centric economies from Russia to Venezuela. Idle drilling rigs. You know, to me, this is really good news. And I wish everybody could discover the power of walking. The power of walking. Be a walker. Be a walker. Just be nuts. You'll love it. Do you know that you could walk almost all day long and feel great? I mean, really. You could just, I'm working on it. You know? Sitting here in nature, thinking about things. What else is there to say about in this beautiful day? There's so much to say. COVID-19, God. And that's what's next from the higher power. Or was it man-made? Oh my God. Oh my God. How do we get out of this? It feels like we're still dealing with the 20th century problems. Obviously we are, but it's not the 20th century problems, it's civilization. Where did it start? I don't know. What's the problem? Black Lives Matter. What's the problem? Oh, you're angry at what we did to the indigenous people or the people of Africa or this or that. But what's the essence of it all? The essence is how do we, in my opinion, live like we are those people that were so empathetic, that we have such compassion for all these people, and rightfully so, from the Native Americans, African, to all the people that have been messed up, quote, messed up by this inevitable growth of civilization.